We're excited to get back on track, and we feel like we're slowly working on our mile-and-a-half program, getting it where we need to be. We're trying to take steps in that right direction. I feel like we're heading that way so far this weekend. Even though we weren't that fast in the first practice, I feel like we made pretty good gains on it through our practice. So we're pretty optimistic about this weekend.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions. We'll take Jeff, then Claire.
Jeff Hood of Racing today. Denny, I know you've got an event coming up at Darlington related to golfing. Can you kind of talk about that? And also go back 2 weeks ago and kind of recap your thoughts now about Bubba winning the Masters, and have you talked to him here a couple of weeks later?
Yeah, a little bit. He's obviously taking some time off, kind of getting. They actually talked about it before that he won, that his trainer said if he won that he was going to make him not golf for 6 months, because typically guys fall apart after winning the Masters, the few months after. So I think they're just kind of sticking to a plan, and really Darlington's more about kind of tribute with Cale Yarborough, and kind of we'll go through all that during that time, but we're also working on some stuff with Bubba for promoting at Charlotte. Try to get a golf hole in the middle of the racetrack or something. So we're working on all that too, but we're still trying to finalize everything.
Okay, we'll take a question from Claire, then go back to Brian.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Talk about racing here, and Carl was just in here talking about he wouldn't repave a track ever, and doesn't feel like you just patch it because he hates the thought of it. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about the changes that will happen here and racing here.
I would agree with what he says. When you don't pave racetracks and there's tire wear, the driver shows up a lot more than what it does when you pave a racetrack. It becomes all about track position and how good your car is. Us drivers are, it takes our skill level of a new racetrack versus old racetrack. I say the driver's probably 65% of how you run. On a brand new paved racetrack, I'd say our numbers are probably down to 30. So it cuts really half of it off, in my opinion. You see it at the Rockingham, Atlanta, tracks like this that tires wear out, that a driver can really honestly make a difference. When you're running nearly wide open every single corner on new paved racetracks, there's just not much us drivers can do. It's like speedway racing, basically.
Okay, I'll take our next question in the back from Brian.
Denny, Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. With the way that JGR teams have kind of gotten off to a start this season, and considering the record recently that you guys have had at Richmond, I mean, do you view that as kind of the opportunity for you to really flex and I guess rebound next weekend?
Yeah, I do, but I don't want to overlook this weekend because this is a chase racetrack for us. I think that we ran extremely well here in the spring. We ran excruciating in the chase race where we were, mid-pack. So, we've got to get back to running well here because we know this is a chase race if we make the chase. So, I don't want to look too far ahead. You see that a lot in the sports. People kind of overlook this one weekend just to try to get to the next, and I don't want to do that. We don't want to start to think about Richmond until Monday because we got some work to do here.
Okay, go ahead. Alex.
Thanks. Alex Scuti, ESPN. Denny, you've talked a lot this season just about how you feel like your team has made a lot of strides from last year, but still, further to go. Don't feel like you've arrived yet. Can you just elaborate a little bit on this season with the new crew chief, early part of this year, how much when you, arrive at a track like this on a Friday, just how much of the season has just been a learning experience and just working on the cars right now and setting yourself up for later in the year?
A lot of it is setting ourselves up for later in the year. Right now, we still haven't had a car on the racetrack like Darian wants to build. That's coming in the next few weeks. And so, honestly, we're still kind of running some of the very similar cars than what we had towards the end of last year, which were heading in the right direction. And so I think that, JGR as a whole is coming together as a company, and I feel like that they're doing a really good job of listening to their drivers and working on the stuff that we feel like we need to work on. But really, it's going to be midsummer or so before we have our 2012 package and all defined and put together.
Okay, we'll take one up here and then go back to Brian again. Back in the back, too.
Denny Scott, Trailer Sports Radio 810 WHB, RaceBoys.com. You talked about tires giving up. People are talking about that they last too long. You had that long green flag run last week. Would you like to see Goodyear go to a different compound to get back to what you like, the car sliding around as you enter the corner where you got to get out of the gas? Would you prefer a different tire?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're stuck because, they don't want to, they've also got to be aware of the safety aspect of the racing tire. When you have a 16, 17-gallon fuel tank, they need a tire that lasts that long. But really now they can last even longer than that. And so it used to be back in the day, you had to maintain your tires, and then, it wasn't about lasting a fuel run. You just had to run as long as your tires would let you. And so for us, I think all the drivers would agree that we feel like better racing. But some of these tracks have no choice. They have to pave, and our cars just have so much horsepower and so much downforce that Goodyear's just kind of stuck in a box in the sense of having to give us a hard tire to keep us from running 225 miles an hour. So it's a tough problem. I don't think any of these tracks want to pave. This one, actually, I'm looking at it, doesn't look terrible. I don't know why they are paving here unless they're going to change some things. But the track, it's racing well. It's slick. It's good. And a lot of things, too, when you have a track that is slick, it takes a lot of the aero out of it. So you don't have such a big track position race. It's more about mechanical grip, and that's when guys typically pass more.
Would you rather that tire get up with like 2 gallons to go so the driver
Yeah.
comes in at the end of the run?
Absolutely. I mean, for sure, we'd love to, race to the limits of the tires, but we've seen when we had too soft of a tire at Charlotte in 05, it would last 15 laps and everyone would blow a tire. So, you don't want to get into an Indy thing again and things like that. So it's a tough balance. Really, I just wish that all the tires had more rubber to start and just went down to the cords by the end. But it's a risk that they really don't want to take.